Well, hi. Certainly has been a while. I've got some new stuff for you, so let's get right into it. Manifestation is the most abstract and useless word in the English language. To me, at least. I get some of you won't be convinced, but here we go anyway. Some words we say just sound off to certain people. I remember hearing a story once about a guy who couldn't stand the sound of the word sauce. I hope he's not watching the video now. I didn't even know this person, but I was able to feel his antipathy as if he was there. In some ways, I think it's more or less where I stand with manifestation. Although it's not the sound of the word that gets to me. Most of the time, it's when I hear people talking about manifestation, I find myself getting angsty or irritated. And I like to think it's not because I'm a bad listener, but because the word itself is crudely defined. It's such a buzzy, topical word that sometimes people use it without manifesting any substance or content to what they're actually saying. I think these type of conversations can get pretty cyclical and tautological and not serve us very well. See, language was made to serve us, but a lot of the times it has some trouble describing the true reality. Actually, it probably can't. Enough people paraded this term around to where I've been turned off by it. I thought it was, at best, nonsense. Or at worst, harmful. I mean, think of manifest destiny. That period where we believed we deserved to own all the land because God? So our ancestors manifested some kind of way for them to justify casting indigenous people off the land that they were occupying. I think these thoughts came most strongly when a couple years ago I sat down with someone to watch the movie The Secret. You gotta say it like that, right? I personally find myself with a low level of spiritual intelligence. I admit that it's out there, but I haven't experienced it a whole lot. So I'm not too metaphysical, which might be more of a personal problem. But that movie had left a really bad taste in my mouth. I usually lean more towards the universe is actively hostile or the universe doesn't give a flying fuck about you philosophies. That being said, I've warmed up to the term manifestation recently, and I'd like to share the quote that made it so. I was reading this insightful book called The Wheels of Life, which I was going through for research. Research for my nonfiction book for techniques on consciousness change and correction called The Alternative Wrong, which you can get now on Amazon in ebook or paperback. See, I think chakras are real in some sense, but they're more like metaphors rather than some endowment for balance bestowed upon us by some higher power. After reading The Wheels of Life, at last, out of nowhere, I finally got a useful definition for what manifestation is. To manifest, we must limit. This requires creating boundaries, being specific, defining structure and form. To write this book, I must have structure in my life and limit other activities long enough to complete it. To hold a job, raise a child, finish school, or create anything tangible, we must be willing to accept limitation. Language limits, and therefore specifies our thoughts. Limitation is an essential creative principle. If we didn't limit our activities, we would accomplish nothing. If I didn't limit my thoughts as I typed this manuscript, I couldn't write. Far from being a negative, limitation creates a container that allows energy to build and gel into substance. To manifest, we must be willing to accept limitation. So you see, manifesting is just a really sexy way of saying intentional limiting. It requires you to deliberately exclude most everything else so you can carve a vision. Notice I say you. Manifestation is a code word for work. But the problem is, people don't like to do work or impose limits on themselves. They want the magic of creativity. They want the result. They want to treat manifestation as a current to the cosmos and take it to mean that everything will work out. My advice is don't just chill as if you were in the ocean waiting for a wave to surf on. Impose limits on any habits that you feel are inhibiting your progress. Sometimes you have to be ruthless to live your vision. But I don't believe it's necessary to limit others in that process. It's counterintuitive, but I love it. If what you seek is more freedom, you need to decide what limitations you're going to impose on yourself. That's all my thoughts for today. Comment below. What is a limit you've realized you need to impose upon yourself? Stay tuned because I will be back shortly with more videos talking about my new book, The Alternative Wrong. I hope I found you better than when I've left you.